look, Brunswick Exploration is a pretty simple story. Really, it's a concept more than anything else. And I'm biased, but I think it's an exciting concept. Really, what we've amassed is probably Canada's largest grassroots lithium program. I'm not going to be biased at all and say it's probably the largest in North America, and I dare the Aussies to compete against me and not say it's the largest in the world. Why? Well, because, 18 months ago, lithium exploration did not exist. And you'll tell me, well, Killian, we'd had all these lithium deposits all over the world. Like, well, yeah, but those were found by accident. No one realistically went out there truly looking for lithium for a long time. The 1950s, well, we mapped all of Canada. And you look at reports back then, and what did we have? Well, we would have pegmatites, and they would write in the report, no economic interest. Well, that's the reality. Back then, if it didn't contain gold, if it didn't contain copper, zinc, moly, well, why even bother with this pegmatite? So we essentially ignored it. And over the last, say 18 months, the industry has changed. All of a sudden, it's $250 billion being spent by OEMs, battery manufacturers, into the lithium space, all downstream. Well, that's great, but where are we going to find the lithium for it? Piedmont was here before me, and he said, look, I expect many more discoveries to be made, and by God, we need to find more discoveries if we actually want to proceed with decarbonization, proceed with all these beautiful COP27 objectives. We need more spodumene. And Brunswick wants to be at the forefront of that. What we've really built is a vehicle designed to test as many pegmatites as possible. Truly, there are millions of pegmatites around the world, and millions that are completely virgin, whether it's in Quebec, whether it's in Ontario, whether it's any locality you want to pick. And so, if I think about Brunswick, there we go. If I think about Brunswick, we are going to be at the forefront of testing for lithium, for spodumene-bearing pegmatites. Here we see all these charts. Everyone's going to have a variety of them. We quite simply need more lithium. This one taken from UBS, again, saying the same thing, saying that, if I gave you $100 billion and I told you to go build copper mines, you would spend $100 billion building copper mines. You could do the same exercise in zinc, but if I gave you $100 billion, you would run out of project after 10. There simply isn't any other grassroots assets out there, and we're starting to get there. We're starting to build this industry, but everyone's focused on singular assets. Everyone's focused on, 2 or 3 or maybe 5 different, pegmatitic fields in their portfolio, and that's what they're going to work on. We take a different approach. Our objective, as I mentioned, is to test as many of these pegmatites as possible, because ultimately, exploration's a numbers game. There's a few different classes of pegmatites. The one that matters to the industry are called LCTs, lithium, cesium, tantalum. Academia tells us that 2% of pegmatites are going to be LCT. So if for every project, for every pegmatite you have out there, if we keep it simple to a numbers game, it has a 2% chance of doing so. So we've decided to make it a numbers game by staking and outline as many targets as possible. We have a team that is dedicated towards uncovering targets in Eastern Canada and looking further afield. We then proceed to our next phase of exploration. And that next phase is where we are at right now in our portfolio in Eastern Canada, where we go out there and we ascertain the potential. And this is something that I cannot do in copper. That is something I cannot do in gold. Based on key geochemical markers in a pegmatite, using portable XRF gun, which is a big fancy device that I point at the rock, one right here like in front of me from a pegmatite, I will zap a mineral in there, and I will get the elemental concentration of what is found in that mineral. And I'm looking for an impurity. And if that impurity is present in a certain concentration threshold, then I know that I am dealing with an LCT pegmatite. So I do not need to see spodumene. I just need to make sure that this is the correct pegmatite that may contain lithium. And that is unparalleled because that is something that is decided in the field. That means that my teams of geologists do not need to wait for assays. They don't need to wait months later. They can get into a chopper, land on a pegmatite, zap the pegmatite, look for those concentrations of elements, and then make a decision as to whether it's worthwhile doing more work there. This is well documented in academic work, yet no one seems to apply it to a large-scale perspective. You know, you'll see a lot of work being done on a single asset. We're putting it at a provincial, if not national scale, where we will stake as many pegmatites as possible. It is a rapid process. It is a cheap process on top of that. Because again, if I don't see the correct mineralogy, if I don't see the correct concentration of certain elements, I don't need to have this pegmatite assayed. So that allows me to save on work. So I generate targets. I generate targets as much as I can, as many as I can, because I eliminate many, many more. Once I find something of interest that contains spodumene, like the one in front of me, like in Hearst, Canada, which is what you're seeing here, then I move into phase 3, which is starting to put the drill bit at it. So this is the key stage where now we start to confirm that great, it actually has lithium, and it has lithium in a size that could matter for a mine. So we're not interested in finding a 5-meter wide dike that contains spodumene. We're interested in finding 50, 100, 150 meters. And by ensuring that we have as many pegmatites, that again gives us more chance. You know, exploration's a numbers game. That's why people have diversified portfolios in junior mining. They try to spread that risk around. Well, we're saying, well, look at this from another way. Here's one company that can spread the risk across its entire portfolio by having so many targets. So in Hearst here, that sort of encapsulates a project that we identified from our phase 1, moved into our phase 2 by going in the field and identifying things of interest, seeing the right mineralogy, seeing the right elements in place, and then moving into phase 3, which is what we're going to be launching in Q1 next year, which is now moving into drilling. Fun thing with Hearst is that I have all of the infrastructure in place. The areas we focus on have to be close to infrastructure. I can put a gold mine anywhere. I can put a diamond mine, doesn't really make a difference. You know, diamonds leave in a briefcase, gold leaves in a bricks armored truck or on a plane. But ultimately, for a lithium mine, for a base metal mine as well, I need access to infrastructure. It simply won't work. So we restrain ourselves to areas that are easy to reach. Perfect example in Hearst, where we have all the necessary infrastructure to advance our asset. We can see here exactly what our team is looking for, spodumene. So spodumene is the bread and butter of the lithium business. I, again, don't need to identify spodumene as I'm filtering these targets. And that's what makes this so great. I just need a small outcrop, and that's good enough for me to make a decision on it. And this is something that's unparalleled. Imagine if you were in the gold business and you had a gold vein, or you had a quartz vein, and you zapped it and said, well, this quartz vein is going to contain gold. You may not see it, but 100 meters down, there's gold. Well, I can do that with pegmatites. I can do that looking for those geochemical markers. So that's something that's simply remarkable in lithium exploration. And it allows me to be efficient, it allows me to be fast, and it allows me to build a large portfolio, because I know people will say, well, Killian, you have hundreds of targets. Like, perfect. I'll kill 100 targets a year easy. This year, we probably tested between 250 and 300 different targets. And we have one that's going to be drill ready. That would be Hearst. And we see a few more entering that next stage of exploration. We're not looking for one, we're looking for dozens of targets across all of Canada that enter our phase 3 program. So it's going to be a very, very aggressive program as we advance this project across, well, Eastern Canada for now, but don't be surprised if it keeps on growing from there. This is, again, you can see, this is our project in Hearst. This is the decoy one, the decoy pegmatite. Again, perfect example. We're seeing widen. We're quite excited to drill. But ultimately, this is just an example. I was asked before, well, what's your flagship project? Well, I don't hope to have one. I hope to have several. And I guess you could say Hearst right now appears to be there, but it's just because it's the one that's moved the fastest. It's the first one to enter that phase 3. But I hope to have many more get there. So, for us, it's a really simple story. It doesn't have to be complicated. We're here with a concept, and it is to test as much pegmatites everywhere. It's to occupy the space as much as possible. There's a lot of companies that are doing fantastic work, but they're focused on the tree. And I'm saying, well, there's a forest here, and there's a whole valley that's just completely filled. And we want to be going through it as quickly as possible. And we need to, as a society, as crazy as it sounds, we need to find more spodumene out there. And Brunswick wants to be at the forefront of it. We have, over $3 million in cash, so we've got more than ample to continue working. And we're going to continue working into next year. 2022 was a year where we walked, where we got comfortable with our model, where we even surprised ourselves with the efficiency so that we can run in 2023 and we can sprint in 2024.